Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, January 13th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle, joined by Bucknuts contributor Jonah Booker. Jonah, very interesting comments from Cardale Jones in a story printed on the Ozone. Good friend Pat Murphy wrote the story. I'm just going to read some quotes here. I'm not going to read all of them yet. I want to get your thoughts on just the first few here from Cardale. Just talking about the quarterback carousel and how that negatively affected him and was kind of in his head. And here's the first quote. I thought that was the whole plan going through camp, was to find one guy. We were all vocal that we didn't want a two-quarterback system. We also had an understanding that we wanted a starter and a guy that we as a staff, as a team, believed in and trusted. Not a guy that, let's see what he can do, and then see what he can do, and then just go back and forth. That wasn't the plan at all, in my opinion. It's not a good feeling. Offense goes 3 and out on the first 2 or 3 drives or a turnover, and you've got the other guy warming up already, end quote. So, I mean, there's, the cliche of, looking over your shoulder. I mean, he's literally looking over his shoulder. Your take on Cardale's very intriguing comments.
When I hear those comments, Dave, it lets me know that these guys weren't on the same page from the start. Everyone knows the story how Urban Meyer chose Cardale Jones a couple minutes before kickoff for the Virginia Tech game. But from what Cardale's saying, his impression on what the quarterback competition was is completely opposite of what ended up taking place. And for him to come and say that they were both very adamant, very vocal about they didn't want a two-quarterback system, yet we all know how that ended up. And it kind of, makes you shake your head to say this entire process was totally mismanaged from the beginning. And the only people that can really take blame for that is Urban Meyer, Tim Beck, and Ed Warner, because obviously if your players don't even know what's going on, then how are they supposed to buy into the sale you're trying to sell to them?
Yeah, and we'll read a few more quotes here. He said, we actually talked about that as a staff, Jones said. I kind of let that be known to them, end quote, meaning he was not happy with the two-quarterback system, and not even necessarily a two-quarterback system, but just the whole, looking over his shoulder type thing. And I'll go on here. Quote, I think it definitely affected my play and my mindset during games, which I shouldn't have let it, but it's kind of hard to when you get to the sideline and the guy's already warming up, end quote. So there he is again talking about the guy already warming up. Here's another quote. It affected both of us because when JT got in, he did things out of his character trying to make plays. He felt like that was his opportunity to take over the job. Then when I started, or when I got in, it was the exact same, and it kind of took us away from our game. I wouldn't say that my confidence was affected at all because it wasn't, but just trying to make some more plays, trying to do things that I know they want to see done in our offense, and trying to be that guy that I know I wasn't at times, end quote. Yeah, this is just, I've always loved Cardale. He's so candid, and I think JT's very candid as well. Just your thoughts on the quotes I just read, adding to what you said earlier.
There's a lot of truth to what he said. How many times as we as, fans and stuff watched the Ohio State season, it was like these guys are pressing, these guys are rusty. Jones, after 2 or 3 series, you would have the crowd booing, calling for JT's name. JT comes in, and he's not playing to what he showed the year before. But to also be fair to Cardale, the Ohio State staff was running a playbook that was not conducive to his skill set. The mobility of a quarterback is a huge part of Urban Meyer's offense, and they were running a playbook that was better suited for J.T. Barrett or Braxton Miller. And then when Cardale struggled, guess what? JT's over there warming up in the bullpen to come in. So you look at the situation, and I can see where it's frustrated. And then you also had Urban Meyer during the season say, yeah, Cardale should be looking over his shoulders, and if it's affecting his play, then maybe, Ohio State is not the place for you, because he always said Ohio State is a pressure cooker situation, especially if you want to be quarterback. Cardale Jones, if he wants to be an NFL quarterback, he's going to be looking over his shoulder. But the whole situation, I'm not surprised about Cardale's comments because we saw it throughout the entire season.
I bet if Urban Meyer read this story and heard Cardale's comments, I bet deep down Urban would agree with it. You know, some people might think Urban might be mad if he read this, even though Cardale's now moving on, you know, to the next phase of his life. I don't think Urban would be mad. Urban's a realist. He was asked about it last week, and he said, hey, we were 12-1, and the guy was undefeated as a starter, so he'll be defensive about this a little bit. But I think if you gave him the truth serum, he would agree with everything that Cardale said. I just don't think Urban would be upset to hear about that. Do you concur or disagree with that?
I think deep down inside, Urban Meyer knows that he dropped the ball on this one. Everyone saw what Ohio State is capable of doing when those guys are clicking on all cylinders. You saw it after the Michigan State game, Michigan and Notre Dame. Once Ohio State is in their mode, they're in the zone, and they're dialed in, they're the best team in college football, and this coaching staff, I have to be honest, his coaching staff let down this team because they couldn't decide on how they wanted to manage the quarterback situation. And this offense throughout the entire season never got into a rhythm. They never played to their potential. And when they did lose a game, you know, it really dropped those guys in the poll rankings. And they never should have lost that Michigan State game. That game was totally mismanaged the same way that the quarterback situation was mismanaged. The silver lining in this is we're going into next season. JT Barrett is going to get all the reps in practice. He's going to be the guy in spring ball. So looking forward, hopefully they can get back to, you know, one guy being the man, and JT gets back to that level that he played at when he broke Drew Brees' Big Ten quarterback record.
Speaking of quarterbacks, and if you're a Buckeye fan, hopefully a future Ohio State quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, to say it is sounding good for the Buckeyes would be a vast understatement, J-Book. It sounds like unless something drastic happens, he will definitely be a Buckeye. And I was skeptical for a while because I thought, you know, I know that playing early is important to him, but it sounds like this young man, also I know winning a championship is important to him. A Big Ten championship, national championship is important to him. And, you know, frankly, you're not going to do that at Maryland. You're not going to do that at a lot of places. So I give him credit if it does work out that he's letting his love for winning trump his love for wanting to play as a true freshman. Let's say he does come to Ohio State. He could theoretically, in fact, he probably would redshirt because they'll have Joe Burrow. I'm hearing, despite what a lot of reports are, that Stephen Collier's probably not going to transfer. He's probably going to come back, and maybe after next year, if he doesn't, you know, think he's ever going to play, he might transfer then. But I don't think there's anything imminent that Stephen Collier's going to transfer. So Dwayne Haskins could redshirt at Ohio State next year. Yet I'm hearing, I'm sure you are too, that he's, you know, unless something drastically changes, will be a Buckeye. What great news. Number 7 pro-style quarterback in the country, according to the 24/7 Sports composite, and the number 3 pro-style quarterback, just according to 24/7 Sports, not using the composite. So fantastic news here, J-Book. Your thoughts?
I agree with you. Huge news for the Buckeyes. You and I had talked a couple weeks ago when Tristan Wallace had decommitted, and it looked like Ohio State was back in the running with Haskins, and I said at the time, what a feather in the cap for Urban Meyer if you're able to parlay a Dwayne Haskins for a Tristan Wallace. You're talking about a big-time talent. One thing that I like about Haskins, he said that, yes, I'm a pro-style quarterback, but that's just me showing that I can play from the pocket, but I also have the skill set to move around if I have to. And you bringing in a guy in Haskins who has the arm, he has the size, tremendous upside, he puts the ball on the money. If we can get him and you bring in another big-time wide receiver in Victor to go with Austin Mack, you're talking about a nice, 2-3 punch there.
Yes, we'll keep everybody posted, but it sounds like when, not if, Dwayne Haskins will be a Buckeye. So that's just fantastic news. Hey, real quick, Jordan Fuller. I don't think I've ever gotten your take on him on the show. I usually talk to you about team-oriented topics, but it's full force with recruiting right now. Jordan Fuller, your take, where do you think he is going to end up, and how big of a get would he be for the Buckeyes?
This is an explosive athlete. He has that fast switch that you can't teach it, Dave. And this is the type of athlete that he can play all over the field. You can move him to corner. You can move him to safety you want to because he has that type of range. Ohio State's been in the running with Fuller for a long time. This one here I think is going to come down to relationships. He had a solid relationship with Chris Ash, but a lot of the coaches have been together on that type of recruitment. And if Ohio State can get him, that's going to be another feather in the cap to finish out for National Signing Day. So he's planning to get on campus, and if Ohio State roll out that red carpet, I'm very confident that the Buckeyes may go ahead and land Jordan Fuller as well.
It's going to be fun to watch this recruiting class close out and see where they finish. I love looking at the recruiting rankings. I know it's fictitious, but it's still fun. I mean, sports is supposed to be fun. Not everything has to be scientific, and it's going to be fun to see where the Buckeyes can land. Perhaps they can win the mythical recruiting national championship. All right, final topic here, Jay Book. Buckeye basketball getting back into action tonight after they were embarrassed at Indiana. Hey, it's going to happen. They started 3-0 in the Big Ten, and, you're going to have some bad games with a team this young. But they host Rutgers tonight, 6:30 Eastern. Big Ten Network will televise the game. So early start for a basketball game. I like the Big Ten Network does this, kind of gets a jump on it with the 6:30 game that has the doubleheader with either the 8:30 or the 9 o'clock game. So Buckeyes hosting Rutgers tonight, and Rutgers is terrible. Ohio State is, despite the loss against Indiana, I think they're trending up, 11-6 overall, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Rutgers 0-4 in the Big Ten. I think the Buckeyes are favored by about 18 points, which I don't know if they'll cover, but this is an exciting team to watch. I still, we'll see what happens as far as if they make the NCAA tournament or not, but I am fully engaged, I'll tell you that much. And I love thinking about next year and what might be, even if it's the roster as is, Jay Book, and you just add Thunderberg, who I'm very high on, and Micah Potter, and maybe a Kobe Simmons, wouldn't that be great? I mean, they're going to be tremendous next year. But even right now, I'm fully engaged, and I love watching this team. Your thoughts on Mata's basketball Buckeyes?
Well, the game against Rutgers is absolutely a game to get that sour taste out of your mouth after that embarrassment at Indiana. As you mentioned, young team, athletic team, they need to continue to gel. The biggest thing for me, Dave, is how does this team react to adversity? That was a situation at Indiana that a lot of people didn't see coming. We knew that Ohio State, may struggle there, but didn't think it was going to be a blowout in that type of manner. So bouncing back against Rutgers is a nice game to get the confidence back as they start hitting the meat of the Big Ten schedule. But I like this team. They're a young, feisty, scrappy team, and once they get hot, they're going to be a team to deal with.
Always good talking to Jonah Booker. Thank you for your wisdom, Jay Book. And thanks to the listeners out there. Appreciate you guys tuning into the show. Take it away, best damn band in the land.